So Blizzard has updated us on the best mercenaries you should be leveling. I don't know what this was about. Well, this one was really interesting because not only do they give you the best equipment, but they also tell you the ability that you should be maxing as well. And I think that's really cool for them to give your players more insight on what they should be working towards. Now, I'm going to show the top 5 and then we can talk about the rest of the list at the end of the video. But I hope you stick around and watch the full thing so you can get some insight on why you should be maxing these characters. And there might be some surprises in here as well. And if you do enjoy this and you want to see more like it, make sure you subscribe and like the video. It would help me out a ton. You look fantastic.
I'm a doctor.
Starting at number 5, we have Sylvanas Windrunner. And Sylvanas has been kind of making more of an appearance because there's a lot more things being summoned. And Sylvanas really likes that because of the Reclaim Souls ability that she has, which gains +5 attack for each friendly character that died this game. Now, this can be stacked quite a bit, but the main reason why this is even better than it usually is because of Cookie. Now, if you did not know, right now, Cookie does have an ability that summons something for your side of the board, and that actually works towards Reclaim Souls for Sylvanas, even though your opponent did summon that extra fish, which is very nice for you because 5 extra attack is quite a lot of damage to be had on your Sylvanas. On top of this, Sylvanas is really good in current metagame right now because there's a lot of casters, a lot of Anduin to deal with. So if you're worried about Anduin and your Sylvanas is at like 50 damage, one Banshee Bolt does 100. That could be the main reason why you win the game. Now, in terms of abilities, they say you should max Banshee Bolt first, as this is Sylvanas's bread and butter. It's the most important thing for her kit, followed by Reclaim Souls. Reclaim Souls is obviously there for the juice and what makes Sylvanas a very scary target. And then we have For the Queen as the last one. Now, I'm going to be very honest. I have probably used this ability once in PvP, and I don't think it did absolutely anything. So I don't think you really want to use this that often. I think this is a much better PvE ability, but maybe in some circumstances, this is definitely okay. For the equipment, they say max the Death Volley. If I had to pick a second equipment for sure, it would be the Mournblade, as just starting off with more attack is great, but it's definitely not better than just dealing your damage to all mercs. Now, if you did not know, Death Volley actually crits against casters. So even if they do focus Sylvanas, as long as you can get 1 Reclaim Souls off for her, you will do an extreme amount of damage to every caster and I guess everything on board, depending on how much attack you have. Soul Jar is definitely not that bad if you want more attack, but generally speaking, the Death Volley is just way better than the rest of the equipment. That's Sylvanas at number 5. Let's go to number 4. At number 4, we have Gruel. Now, a lot of people memed on the last video I did here because Gruel was considered the best mercenary to actually be playing in Hearthstone Mercenaries, which is very surprising. But the main idea behind Gruel is to counter Diablo. And if you compare it against Diablo with the Dragon Skull equipment, you have fire resistance, and this will scale up to 5 fire resistance. And if you did not know, if we go check out Diablo, Fire Stomp does 6 damage. So if you have 5 fire resistance, this will do 1 damage to your protectors and your fighters, and I believe just 6 damage for your casters, which basically means Diablo is not going to be as much of an issue if you are running Gruel. Now, if that's, I mean, let's be real here, a lot of people are running Diablo, so that's the main reason you run Gruel. But if you don't really go against a fire type, then Gruel feels really weak because his kit is just not super tailored to the metagame, as a lot of it is to do with dragons, and no one's really playing dragons at the moment. Now, will Gruel just be absolute hot garbage if you don't go against Diablo? Of course not. Look at his stats. He's a really big guy, and if you max him, he does 15 and 85 life. That's a lot of attack for a protector, and I guess it's not the worst thing in the world, but dealing 20 damage to a fighter is not that bad for 4 speed, and I guess you could summon a 15-15. I don't know. I don't think that's that good. Now, for the equipment you should be maxing, like I said, we are talking about the Dragon Skull because the whole reason you're putting Gruel into your party is to counter Diablo and I guess other fire abilities. Sometimes you do see Rag, followed by the abilities you want to max here is Dragon Shot. First, basically 4 speed, 20 damage to a fighter, good against Diablo, followed by Crazed Flurry, as it's the bread and butter in the sense, but because this doesn't have a cooldown, this is arguably always just a better move. And then you have the Dragon Mob Poacher as your last one. Now, the problem with this ability is that it's not bad you're summoning a 15-15, but like summoning an extra minion for Diablo is not great because it just kind of does nothing. It only theoretically does 5 damage to him if you actually get to end up swinging, which is not that great. Now, if you'd want to run Gruel for some reason, but you don't have the Dragon Skull equipment unlocked, it's probably going to be Burning Shot, as it just makes this ability do more damage. But you definitely want the Dragon Skull to be running the Gruel in your comp. I will say Gruel has some pretty nice skins though, so don't be ashamed for running Gruel in your comp. Let's go to number 3. At number 3, we have King Mukhla. Now, King Mukhla has been seeing a lot of play recently because of the Mukhla's Big Brother equipment, which is just a taunt to defend against Samaro or any other scary fighter that might want to hurt your casters. And the main idea of Mukhla at the moment, other than just in the beast comp to be another great threat to have, is to protect your casters with Mukhla's Big Brother. And you've probably been seeing Mukhla quite a bit. I've used it in some comps. People have been using a lot in different comps for like Nature and Anduin. And it's literally just the same thing over and over again, is to have Mukhla's Big Brother into basically a taunt guaranteed to defend your casters. And if you can defend your casters, you're doing a pretty great job. In the beast comp, it's also just good. He's another huge threat. And because it is pairing really nicely with King Crush, it is just a really good character to have leveled up. Now, generally speaking, you probably want to have Mukhla's Big Brother. This is the task 7. I would highly recommend you just upgrade this first, because even if you don't have any of these other upgraded, you kind of need dinner time to be upgraded, I guess, as well. You should be in a really, really good spot. Now, in terms of upgrades, based on what Blizzard's saying, you want to actually upgrade Primal Power first, followed by followed by Dinner Time, and then Banana Frenzy, which is really weird because you think you would want to max this ability first because it's like his first ability to use, but it turns out the other ones are better. The main idea of Primal Power is that you can actually use it on yourself and make Mukhla a really scary boy. Now, obviously he doesn't go immune when he is attacking this turn, but he does get to keep the 15 attack throughout the rest of the game until Mukhla dies, which is very scary. You could also put it on the Mukhla's Big Brother in case it lives and then have it swing, because Mukhla's Big Brother will not get slowed down by Varden. It is a pretty good thing to do in certain circumstances of the game. Now, the problem with Banana Frenzy seems to be that it's not super reliable, and it's only +5/+5 randomly spread amongst your team. So there's not a guaranteed way of actually using it correctly. It's just kind of like, let me just do an attack. So I can definitely see why upgrading it is not super important. You only get a few more stats. It's not a really big deal. But yeah, Mukhla's Big Brother is an absolute must. I wouldn't even worry about these. But yeah, that's King Mukhla for the number 3 spot. Let's go to the number 2. Number 2, we have Jaina Proudmoore. Now, I don't want to say it, but I do agree with this sentiment that she is a very high tier character. She is the only character in the game that can ramp and has an ice block. So those two things together should equal a pretty good merc. I have also been playing around with a list that I have not showcased on YouTube yet that you should see soon. That is arguably the best party I played so far. Just today on stream, I went 9-2. So get ready for that. But the main idea of Jaina is to ramp up and not be scared about dying, because you have ice block, which means she gets a guaranteed ability no matter what. And then you have to use another ability to kill her. Paired with Varden, she can be very powerful, and her kit is pretty great. Now, obviously for equipment, you just want ice block. You don't have to upgrade it at all. You just have to get the task 7 done. So highly recommend you get that finished. When it comes to abilities, it obviously goes for Ice Flow first, probably followed by Icicle. You can make the case for Water Elemental, but it's probably Icicle just to deal more damage, and then Water Elemental to finish her off. Jaina is really strong right now, and I hope you guys are excited for that build. So if you are, make sure you subscribe so you stay tuned for it. Let's go to number 1, which I am super stoked for. At number 1, we have Cookie the Cook, which is kind of surprising, but not really. When we saw the new 5 mercenaries coming for the Dead Mines mini sets, we kind of assumed Cookie was going to be really good because of his appetizers equipment. But this actually opens up a lot of combos and synergistic aspects that we did not have previously. The main issue with a lot of comps was that their health was too low and they just died to Samaro. But with 9 extra life, breakpoints become a lot different, and Cookie is just an absolute menace. A lot of people think his kit is really bad, but he's got a pretty good one. Really fast death blow proc that does 20 damage to a protector. Sometimes it's just good enough, and especially now that reincarnation has been fixed, we can do a lot of good things against Karen and stop Diablo from becoming so much of a threat. Speaking of Diablo, you can actually go Karen on your side into, so the speed up into Go Fish into Diablo Stomp, and this will proc another 6 damage from the Stomp or 12 against the caster to make your Diablo even stronger. And then you have a Bleed, which is really good. Now, if you did not know, bleeding is like canceled if your character gets healed, so it's not super good against Anduin or Malfurion, but that's not your main reason for Cookie. The appetizers is obviously what you're here for. Now, when it comes to leveling, appetizers by far, it's the only equipment I think is actually worth running. And then when it comes down to your actual upgrades, you want to start with Fish Feast because you want to do as much damage as possible, followed by Go Fish, and then into Cookie's cooking. Cookie's great. I'm really glad he's making a huge splash on the metagame, and I'm excited for more new mercenaries. But let's look at the final list that Blizzard has provided. This is the final list of the top 15 mercenaries that you should be leveling and their abilities as we've gone through the top 5. But let's go through the rest of it. So Diablo, obviously very good. One of the best mercenaries in the game, only gets better because of Karen and the addition of Cookie into any single comp. We also have Vol'jin. A lot of people think Vol'jin is one of the strongest, me included. That ring to make him super fast is great. Velen with Anduin obviously making a huge splash on the metagame recently with Insane Life, followed by Malfurion. So the healing boys are coming in real close. Natalie to follow the Shadow. Rexar with King Crush is also here because the Beast comp counters a lot of these casters early on, but it does not counter nature, so be careful. And then Karen and Reg to basically round us out on the top 15. Basically, this is a really good list. Really happy that Blizzard is doing this for us. So if you're intrigued and you want to keep seeing awesome stuff like this and keep updated on mercenaries, make sure you subscribe. And that's going to be it for me. Baby, you got anything to say? She does not. I'm sorry. She just wants pets. I'll see you guys next time.